Hi everyone, welcome to Dux-Soup and thank you for joining us for this LinkedIn Recruiter special. Before we get underway with the good stuff, let me introduce myself. I'm Jo Henderson. I'm a member of the marketing team at Dux-Soup and I'm responsible for pulling together our webinar series. I'm always interested in hearing from users who feel they have a great Dux-Soup story to share. So if that's you, please get in touch by sending an email to eve@duxsoup.com. I'll post her email address in the chat in a little while, but if you don't fancy hosting a webinar, but you would still like one of our caps, I've got one over the shoulder here, then email Eve as well and send her a video review letting her know what you love about Dux-Soup and how it helps you to manage your slides and your marketing activities, something that we would love to share on our social media. So on to today's webinar. We've had some great user feedback about the savings achieved when using LinkedIn Recruiter with Dux-Soup. So this session is targeted towards talent seekers, HR professionals and recruiters to help you understand the benefits of using Recruiter with Dux-Soup and to guide you through how you can automate your candidate search. I'll be supporting Giles by collating all of your usual questions as we go through the session, so please add those into the question box on your screen and make sure you stick around to the end to find out the answers. So enough of me, now let's welcome Giles Garnett, Head of Professional Services and resident Dux-Soup LinkedIn expert as he kicks off today's session. Giles, over to you.
Thank you for that introduction, Jo, and as always, hello and good morning, good afternoon or good evening to everyone, wherever you may be in the world, and thank you once again for joining us in the latest of our series of webinars. Today, we're looking specifically at the LinkedIn Recruiter platform and how you can combine the power of Dux-Soup with this platform to maximize your possibilities. And as usual, the session is being recorded and will be made available during the via the usual channels in the coming hours. Quick summary of what we're going to cover today. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. For anyone who's new to Dux-Soup, anyone who's not experienced Dux-Soup before, or you've just stumbled across the webinar and you're trying to piece together what's going on, I'll do a quick summary of what Dux-Soup is. Then we'll have a quick question, why Recruiter? And then look at the differences between regular LinkedIn Sales Navigator and Recruiter. Then what can you do in Recruiter using Dux-Soup and how to carry out various actions in Recruiter using Dux-Soup Pro and Dux-Soup Turbo. Be a little bit of time for a demo then, and then of course, as always, some time for some questions at the end. Feel free to get those questions in through the questions box during the course of the webinar, and we'll try and cover as many of those at the end as possible. So without further ado, what is Dux-Soup? As I've explained many times in the past, if you've attended any of these webinars, it's a Chrome extension which allows you to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform automatically. You basically define your list of profiles in LinkedIn, and then you get Dux-Soup to process your actions against that list and define what actions you want to be taken. Remember, from a safety point of view, Dux-Soup is mimicking human behavior, and that's really important in the philosophy of how Dux-Soup has been designed and built. Just to show you as well, if you haven't used it before, go to the Chrome Web Store, install Dux-Soup, and you get a free 14-day trial. And there are some very simple links here. There's a link to our homepage there, and then also our support portal there, where you can get live chat with our amazing support team who are available through the week. So that's Dux-Soup in a nutshell. But let's get onto today's topic and why LinkedIn Recruiter. So I was having a flick through various different resources over the last week or two just to get some data together, and these are fairly widely known statistics. 87% of recruiters are using LinkedIn to find candidates. That was a stat from 2020, but that number has not shrunk since then, and there are over 15 million jobs currently advertised on LinkedIn. 6 people are recruited every minute. So yeah, in the time that since we've started this webinar, probably 30 people have been recruited, to be honest. There's 49 million people searching for jobs on LinkedIn every week, and over 12 million LinkedIn members are signaling their availability to work, that open to work label that you can have on LinkedIn. So it's an enormous, I would say it's a fantastic resource, an amazing place to go and get information, both as a candidate and as a recruiter, of course. And LinkedIn Recruiter really does open up those possibilities. There are, of course, costs involved in that side of things, but no, it's part of the business model that you have to build as to whether you use the Sales Navigator platform or the Recruiter platform. And as I say there, we've got, you know, 3 flavors effectively of LinkedIn, and Dux-Soup works on all three of them. So there's basic LinkedIn, the standard platform that everyone sees. We've got Sales Navigator, and then we've got the Recruiter, also known often as Recruiter Lite. So just for convenience sake today, I'm gonna, if I say Recruiter, I also do mean Recruiter Lite before anybody asks that question. And each platform's got its own functionality or options, and Dux-Soup makes use of those available functions to allow you to maximize your productivity. Be aware of what you can do and where, because there are some limitations. So for example, if you're in LinkedIn Recruiter, you can't send a connection request direct from that platform. So that's all explained hopefully in the next couple of slides accordingly. Oh, yeah, so just to show you here, this is my profile in LinkedIn, and on the left-hand side there, you can see my profile in regular LinkedIn. In the middle, you can see my profile as you would see it if you looked at it in Sales Navigator. On the right-hand side, you can see it as you would see it if you were looking in LinkedIn Recruiter. So it's, you know, you get 3 very different views and different options available to you, whether you want to, you know, connect with somebody, send them a message, an email, etc., etc. So just be aware of all these 3 different environments and how they present themselves on the screen. Some very specific things on Recruiter here. So you can auto visit profiles in Recruiter, but remember, the candidate won't get a notification that you visited them because you visit them effectively in secret. You can scan lists in Recruiter, and we'll come on to that. I'll show you how to do that if you're not familiar with that process using Dux-Soup. Scanning is just basically skimming off some very high-level data against each profile that you have in a list. You can visit and direct message or in-mail profiles in Recruiter. That option is available to you. And with Dux-Soup Turbo, you can enroll profiles directly into a campaign, a Dux-Soup campaign. Profiles that you visit, of course, you can download the data because Dux-Soup is gathering that data for you and caching that in the browser. You cannot, and as I said that just now, you can't use Visit and Connect, which is one of those buttons that you get in Dux-Soup. You can't use that directly within Recruiter, so just be aware of that. And of course, if you're using Dux-Soup Turbo, you can integrate all of that with your CRM or whatever integration you have built through Zapier or Make. So all of those options are available to you, and it's just down to how that data comes through and making sure that you're, you know, whatever you've got in your campaign as well, you're having those actions carried out correctly. I'm going to go through this very step by step during the demo. So yeah, there's 2 options here, depending on whether you've got Dux-Soup Pro or Dux-Soup Turbo. Hopefully you're all familiar with those different versions of Dux-Soup. Dux-Soup Pro is the lower cost version. Dux-Soup Turbo is the premium version where you have all of the access to the API and the campaign features, etc. So if you want to visit and connect to candidates with Dux-Soup Turbo, you find your list of candidates on the screen, you set up your campaign in the Dux Dash, and then you just enroll your candidates using Dux-Soup, and then Dux-Soup follows your instructions. If you want to do connection requests using Dux-Soup Pro, there's a few more steps you need to go through. You can still use all those facilities within LinkedIn Recruiter to be able to narrow down your searches, build your project list or whatever it may be within Recruiter. But you need to scan the list, download that scan data, and rename some columns in your CSV file, and then use the revisit tool if you then want to auto visit or maybe visit and connect to those profiles. It's just making sure that you're aware of those subtle differences, and it's just how the platform is, because you can't do a visit and connect directly from the Recruiter platform. We'll cover this in the demo anyway. But, yeah, these slides will be made available if you want them as well. I need to forward those through to support, which I'll do straight after the webinar. So what we're going to do, we'll talk through scanning, visiting, messaging, enrolling, and how to download your data and revisiting using the correct URLs. So for anybody who's new to these webinars, of course, first thing I should always do is say, yeah, if you would like to connect with me, please do. This is me on LinkedIn. Hopefully you can see that. That's my LinkedIn page. Very happy to connect with people who are using Dux-Soup. Please put Dux-Soup, mention Dux-Soup in your connection request, because then I know how you found me, and it's not just a connection request out of the blue. I always give priority to people who are using Dux-Soup, of course, because I'm interested to interact with you as users. So first of all, we're going to go to our Recruiter account, and hopefully I've got my Recruiter account set up here. So there we go. There's our Recruiter account. And similarly here, I've got Dux-Soup Turbo installed here, so we can see that here in the top right-hand corner. I'm running Dux-Soup Turbo, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit so we can make it a little bit bigger, and hopefully everyone can see what's going on. So here we are. I've got my LinkedIn Recruiter account, and I'm running Dux-Soup Turbo. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the ins and outs as to how to carry out searches in Recruiter, because hopefully with the population, hopefully of people well versed in Recruiter, then you're familiar with all of that stuff. But effectively, if I'm here in Recruiter, I can carry out a search for here, search within here. Now, I carried out a search in here earlier for civil engineers. So there we go. Let's have a look in here. It's now going to come up with all the pop-ups. But here's my talent pool that I found earlier. And I'm just going to stop the robot there because I was running something earlier. There we go. This is my talent pool here. Now I could of course save these people into my my pipeline accordingly. But if I just go up to the top, let's go into my pipeline here. Basically, any list that I come up with here in Recruiter, as soon as the Dux-Soup icon turns green in the top right-hand corner, I can then start getting Dux-Soup to carry out my chosen actions. And I don't know if it's just turned, there we go, it's just turned green and said at your service. So now I'm free to get Dux-Soup to carry out my actions. So I've got here, I've saved 24 people here from my talent pool into my pipeline. Now, if I wanted to put these into a Dux-Soup campaign, so this is for Turbo, this is the more simple way to do things. If I wanted to put these people into my Dux-Soup campaign, I can do this very simply. I can click on the Dux-Soup icon, I can go to enroll profiles here, and now I can select whichever campaign I want. So you've got one called Civil Engineering Specialist, and then I can determine how many people I want to put into my campaign. Well, I've only got 24 people in this list, so what I might do is I'm just going to hit 24, and then I'm going to press OK, and that's going to queue up 24 people into my Civil Engineering Specialist campaign. So I'm going to do that a second, and what we'll see now, it's going to enroll these people into my campaign there. We can see it's going through that list very quickly, queuing up those actions. While that's doing that, let's have a look at the campaign. Remember, this is Dux-Soup Turbo. So I'm going to click on our Dux-Soup icon, and we're going to go down to our Dux dash here, and we'll show you what that campaign looks like and effectively what I've queued up there. Again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I'm just conscious that everything looks a bit small on my screen, or maybe it's my eyesight's going. So here we go. We go into our drip campaigns here, and we'll have a look at my Civil Engineering Specialist campaign that I've got here. Now I've built this one just as an example, and I've got 6 steps in this particular campaign. My first action is that I'm going to follow them. So Dux-Soup will open the profile in regular LinkedIn and start following them, and they'll get a notification about that. And then 6 days after that, I'm going to send them this connection request, and I've got just a bit of blurb in there. And then as and when they accept my connection request, I've got the basis of a message here. I've not put the URL in here, but there's some text in there relating to a particular vacancy. Also asking for them to respond to me to let me know if they want more information, etc., etc. Here I've just basically built a very, very simple, straightforward campaign to basically get prospects to engage with me, and hopefully engage with me in such a way that I can then send them more information and we can get into a genuine discussion. Now remember, with Dux-Soup campaigns, Dux-Soup listens out for when they accept and then queues up the subsequent messages afterwards. It also listens out for people who respond. So if somebody responds to me in this campaign, that stops the campaign and I have to take over or decide what action happens next. That's one of the features of Dux-Soup, that response recognition monitoring that goes on, which makes sure that we don't then send out perhaps messages that don't look appropriate to the discussion. And remember, you can always check in your funnel flow for all of your stats. Now I think I've just put some people, of course, I've just enrolled some people into this campaign. So these are my 24 people that I've just enrolled into my Civil Engineering Specialist campaign here. So those are the people who've just got in there. Once Dux-Soup starts sending out the invites or whatever, then I'll start to see this screen getting populated with the information. And of course, I would primarily keep my eye on the responded block here. This would be the list of people who've responded and with their responses. Now I can also see here under my queued activity, there we are. These are my enrollment actions all queued up. So if you remember rightly, if you remember back to how my campaign looks, my first option is to to follow them. So Dux-Soup will visit their regular LinkedIn URL. See here the regular LinkedIn URLs of these particular individuals, and then it's going to start following them. And then once it's followed them, then it's going to queue up that connection request. It's only going to queue up one step of the campaign at a time. Now, as it happens, I've got the planner turned off, so I didn't get interrupted partway through the webinar here. So you can see here, this is all just sitting here ready to go, waiting for when the planner is available. If I go to my Dux-Soup options and I look at the planner, we can see here that currently it's turned off at the moment, so we don't see anything happening. But from 8 o'clock tonight, my time, if my computer is on, then Dux-Soup will start processing these actions here and start following these people. They get that little notification that I've started following them, and maybe out of curiosity they'll visit me back, which would be quite good, because then they're prepared, they've been warmed up, shall we say, in advance of me sending a connection request, which is the next step in my campaign. Now, if you're not familiar with Dux-Soup campaigns, they're very straightforward to create and adapt and change. You can just add and remove steps to your campaign. You hit the plus button, you choose your step. Maybe I want to send an in-mail, and then an in-mail would get put in here. I can move these things around. I can drag and drop them based upon certain rules. So for example, if you do a follow, you're always going to be following somebody at the very start of your campaign. Yeah, and you can only endorse skills of people who you're already connected to, so you can't endorse people before a connection request, for example. So there are various little bits of rules there. You can have up to 12 steps in a campaign, and you can have as many campaigns set up running in parallel as you like. And just remember, the thing that determines how many connection requests you send out is how you set up your throttling options. You do all of that here under your Dux-Soup options, under the throttling settings here. This is where you control that. And just to show you as well, because this is just a, oh, I can't type today. There we go. Let's just go to the Dux-Soup homepage. This is one of the blogs that I always share with people when I speak to them. If I click on the blog posts here, if you're looking for anything to do with keeping your account safe, check out this blog here, this link, using LinkedIn automation safely. Tell you what, I'm going to stick that straight in the chat box so that I don't forget. There we go. This one here outlines everything that we know at Dux-Soup about keeping your LinkedIn account safe. Bearing in mind, Dux-Soup has been running for nearly 10 years now, so there's a huge amount of information. This is built upon a lot of information that we've gathered over the years. So have a read of that if you're thinking about the numbers game and how many people you can target. Of course, you guys are paying for LinkedIn. You've already got a recruiter account, which is a significant investment. And if you've got a paid LinkedIn account, you can always do more than if you're running a free LinkedIn account. So that's something to consider there. So that's Dux-Soup Turbo if we're wanting to get people from our pipeline or our talent pool into our particular campaigns. Now, if we're running Dux-Soup Pro, we have some slightly more limited options. Because, for example, if here I can't hit the visit and connect button because there isn't. If I open a profile here in Recruiter or Recruiter Lite, I can't send a connection request here, and that is just a limitation of the Recruiter platform. So as a workaround, and this is quite well documented in one of our blog posts, which we're going to be updating following this webinar as well. There's a process you need to go through, and basically what you need to do is you need to hit the Scan Profiles button here. When you press the Scan Profiles button there, what Dux-Soup does is it gathers, it creates one line of data basically against each of the results here that you see on screen. Once you've scanned the list, you then go to Download Data, and we see here I've got a bunch of data here that I scanned earlier. Here we go. We've now got a CSV file created, which of course opens on a different screen. Of course it does. That was always going to happen, wasn't it? Let me find that a second. There we go. So here we go. This is my scanned list of people who I scanned earlier, and here we can see got my scan time, so we can see these were scanned earlier today. But basically, we now see lots of different URLs. So we see these ones here with talent in the URL. That means that's actually a recruiter URL. But I have here also the public profiles. Now, if I was just to get Dux-Soup to revisit this list, it would take whatever's in the profile column and auto visit that, and that's not actually what I want. I want it to auto visit these bits of data here, these URLs here, these are the public profiles. So all I need to do, easiest way to do it, is to delete these two columns because I don't need them, and just rename public profile just profile. There we go, simple as that. I've still got first name and last name there. So now I'm going to save this, hopefully. There we go. So we've saved this one as my scan from earlier today. So if this is the list of people I now wanted to visit and connect with in regular LinkedIn, and for some reason we've got a blank line there, it's probably because there's limited data available. So let's delete that one just for keeping our data clean. There we go. So I've got my scan data file there. So now to visit and connect to that group of people that I've scanned, I click on the Dux-Soup icon up here. Remember, this is for pro users. Now I go to my revisit data button. I now upload my CSV file, which is here under my downloads, hopefully that one there. There we go. And we can see here that Dux-Soup has pulled out the regular LinkedIn URL, the one that was in that profile column. In a second, the Dux-Soup icon in the top right-hand corner will turn green. It really will, and it takes always a little bit longer when I'm talking and trying to demonstrate. There we go, at your service. And now we can see I've got that option to visit profiles or visit and connect. Now, if I've got Pro, this is not the turbo version, this is the Pro version. Of course, during an auto visit or visit and connect, the options, the actions that Dux-Soup will carry out are determined here under my automated actions. So maybe here I would want to turn on my connection request. What I could do then is just take my message here from here. Let's just copy that across, stick that in there. There we go. So I've got my connection request there. Maybe I want to tag them with something so that I know this is civil engineering. So there I'm tagging the profiles with a label, a Dux-Soup tag, so I can find them again. And there we go. Those are my options set up there. Of course, I've got my usual skipping options, which I might always also want to use, and yeah, I probably want to do that as well. Make sure I skip anybody who's already got that tag, so I don't duplicate my effort. There we go. And then my throttling settings, and then all I need to do is go to Dux-Soup and say, right, go and visit and connect to these people, and then Dux-Soup would open each of these profiles in turn, following my rules, and send my connection request. It's as straightforward as that. The filters and the way that you can find people in Recruiter really do open up a lot of possibilities, and yeah, it gives you all those extra options, and Dux-Soup can really help automate all of that. And remember, if you're doing any of this, in order for Dux-Soup to perform its chosen actions, Chrome has to remain open, and it will only be active at the times that the planner is defined to run, of course. So we've got here the planner. So it's only going to perform actions when the planner is active, when you're logged on to LinkedIn, and Chrome is actually open. If you minimize Chrome to the bottom of your screen, then Dux-Soup effectively snoozes. It's because of the way that Chrome works and the way that Dux-Soup mimics the clicks of the mouse and mimics that human behavior. You do need to keep your Chrome window open somewhere on your desktop. It doesn't have to be at the front, it can be behind everything, but don't minimize it down to the bottom of the screen, otherwise Dux-Soup will just have a little bit of a nap. Cool, so let's head back to the slides. There we go. So let's just quickly recount what we've covered. We talked about what Recruiter is. We talked about why Recruiter. It's an amazing resource. Why? I mean, it's a significant investment. I understand that as well. And there are other options. You've got regular LinkedIn, of course, which is the free version. You've got the Business Plus or Business Pro, I think it's called, which is sort of like the premium version of regular LinkedIn. Then you've got Sales Navigator, and then Recruiter. And Recruiter is, of course, the most expensive of the platforms, but it has all those benefits where you can literally visit thousands of profiles a day, and LinkedIn expect you to because you're paying them for the service. The different subtleties between regular LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, and Recruiter, what you can do in Recruiter, and how to carry out those actions that we've talked about there. We've talked about both the Pro, visiting, connecting, visiting, messaging, etc., and Turbo, where you can enroll prospects into your campaigns. That's what I wanted to cover today, and I'm just going to flick down to some other slides because there's a couple of other bits and pieces, because we're going to do questions next. But while you get those questions in, I'm just going to talk about very quickly, in 2 weeks' time, we have a guest speaker because I'm not around. Now, maybe Joe, you'd like to talk about what Scott's going to cover.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So our next webinar, as Giles says, is going to be in 2 weeks' time. It's on the 30th of May. We'll be joined once more by Scott Wright self-confessed duck soup lover, and someone I describe as a serial innovator. We are welcoming him back for the third time as he talks about how amped marketing are revolutionizing sales performance with what they're calling a game-changing tool that allows teams and agencies to collaborate across multiple LinkedIn profiles, improving team efficiency by, we've got numbers like 400%. So it's definitely not one to miss, especially if you're involved with team or agencies. Yeah, really good content I'm working through with Scott there, so that's going to be really exciting. And Adam will be on that one as well, presenting, who's our marketing director. So it'll be nice to have the head of marketing on there as well.
It's going to be good, and it's going to be great to have Scott back for a third time and get his insights and find out what's been happening over the last 6 months or so since we last heard from him.
Yeah, exactly. So I have got a couple of questions here. Christine has asked, we've got a couple actually about InMail, Giles. So Christine has asked, how is the campaign being sent? Are you using InMails? And if so, how many InMails are you using if you're not connected with them already?
So Dux-Soup will use an InMail if you add an InMail step to your campaign. So let's go back. I need to find the recruiter account, don't I? There we go. Let's head back to here. So here, this is just a general, this is a regular connection request I'm using here. So yeah, we have this option here to be able to just send it's a regular connection request being sent in regular LinkedIn. You can add an InMail step in here if you so desire, and that will of course use some of your InMail credits. There is, now I've got to try and find this, haven't I? Oh dear, fingers aren't working now. There we go. So let's go here and let's go to InMail. Here we go. So there is here, we've got an option here to be able to set up an InMail campaign for open profiles. So there is this one here, which might be of interest, which I'm going to stick into the chat box because that might be useful, because there you can use the Dux-Soup sort of workaround to make sure that you are focusing only on people who accept free InMails rather than the people who, you know, hopefully that makes sense to people who've got the open profiles who you can InMail without it costing you a credit. Because yeah, that's always a very powerful thing. Normally you get, now I don't know the number actually for Recruiter, but with regular Sales Navigator you get 50 InMail credits per month. Recruiter, I don't know what you get, I must admit. But yeah, you get so many credits. But if people respond to you within a certain time frame, you get that credit back. So be aware of that as well. So yeah.
So that also answers Michael's question as well, I think, about whether you can just send email campaigns without connecting.
You can send, okay, so a campaign always contains a connection request step. Whether a connection request gets sent depends upon the degree of connectivity that person has with you. I don't know if that made sense. Hopefully you're nodding, Joe, so I'm hoping that made sense. So if you enroll a second or third degree connection into a campaign, at some point during that campaign, they will get a connection request. So you can't send follow-up messages until they become a first degree connection. If you enroll a first degree connection into a campaign, the connection request step will get skipped because you can't send a connection request to an existing first degree connection.
Yeah, okay. Let's have a look. What if we only use regular LinkedIn? I think that's, I'm guessing that's instead of using Recruiter, well, that's obviously going to be.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely perfectly valid question. Of course, the focus of this webinar is on Recruiter, but basically all of these things I've been talking about are valid for the other LinkedIn platforms. You just have to wait for the Dux-Soup icon to turn green. You find your list of prospects wherever they may be. So if I just go to, for example, well, I'll tell you what, let's do it in this one because it's slightly more familiar to me. So if I go here, if I go to my home page here, and I wanted to carry out a search, I don't know. Let's just look for a list of people here. There we go. I've got a list of people here. I would add in my filters here. I'd narrow down my target audience somewhat. I would not want to try and reach out to 41,000 people, of course. But basically, once I've got a list of people on my screen, once the Dux-Soup icon in the top right-hand corner turns green, I can now run my chosen Dux-Soup actions against that list. There are lots of different lists that you can run Dux-Soup against in. So a search result being one like this, I can do my chosen actions here. I could also run this against perhaps a list of attendees of an event, which is a really powerful one actually, because then you know what people have got an interest in. So if I take, for example, here, I know this event here that I registered for. You have to register for an event to see the population of that or the people who are attending it. So here we go. This is an event that was run by Tracy, who has presented for us in the past as well. So here we go. I can see who's attended this. I can now run Dux-Soup against this list. It's just a search result. Again, I just wait for the icon to turn green here. Similarly, I can also run it against, what other things can I run it against? I can run it against alumni lists. If I go to a college or university, and everything seems to have slowed down on my computer right now, so we'll just wait for a moment for it to catch up. Here we go. Which hopefully it will do in a second. So if I go to a college or university and look at the alumni list and narrow things down, I can run Dux-Soup against that list. The same if I do a list of employees, and exactly the same in Sales Navigator as well, a search result or a lead list or whatever it may be. Tell you what, let's exit that page. And LinkedIn is obviously not cooperating. Sometimes happens. We can even do it against a list of people who have reacted to a post. So if I find a post where there's a bunch of people reacted to it, let's find it here. So here we go, this particular one here, I can run Dux-Soup against this list here as well. Dux-Soup icon turns green, you run your chosen actions against it. Just be aware of the different subtleties between the platforms.
Okay. I'm just trying to read through some of these. We've got some good questions coming in. Some of them are not referring necessarily to Recruiter, but I think
fire away, it's fine.
What do you recommend for the frequency of follow-ups to potential recruits, and how often do you recommend sending messages?
Yeah, this is an old favorite. This is an old favorite. Yeah, this is something, and again, actually, this is something that Scott covers quite well in some of his material, is the tempo of follow-up messages. Always think about how you would react to receiving follow-up messages and the frequency. Try and put yourself in the candidate's position and try and think of what would seem professional. What isn't professional, I think, is to bombard people with messages day after day after day after day. So allow people time to digest a message and to react to a message. So here, I mean, this is just an example, and this isn't a real life example. This is something I was putting together the other day when I was preparing for this webinar. So here I've got my connection request. Once somebody's connected with me, I've said to them, you know, accept this request and I'll send over more details. One day after connecting, thank you for accepting my invite. As mentioned, blah, 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 blah. There's the details. What I'm then doing, well, actually, this is probably a bit long, but maybe I'd say then here, maybe a week or so after, a week afterwards. So 7 days after the previous one, I'd be then following up. And then, you know, what you got to remember is the frequency with which people look at LinkedIn. You know, a lot of us, we work on LinkedIn day in, day out, and we're constantly checking messages, and we're always engaging with people. There's a lot of users out there, there's a lot of LinkedIn users who are not on the platform every day. They'll check in maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, maybe once or twice a month. The worst thing that you can have is somebody accepting a connection request message, and then the next time they log on a week later, they've got 5 messages from you, because it just looks utterly unprofessional and a little bit desperate, to be honest, and almost obviously like it's some sort of automation tool. You're just completely, you know, keep on feeding messages out and messages out and messages out. Remember, every message you send is only going to get sent if they've not responded to you. So allowing a campaign to run longer and longer improves the chances of getting an interaction from somebody. And when I say an interaction from somebody, I always think any sort of response, any sort of answer is better than nothing. Because even if it's a thank you but no thank you, or maybe something less polite than that, at least it's an indication as to whether you need to put more effort in there or not. A no is a clear no. Okay, thank you. We can now move on to somebody else. Whereas any sort of positive engagement, then of course you would then get your actual follow-up, your personal follow-up, rather than an automated response. So there is no simple answer to the frequency. Think about how you would feel receiving those messages, and how it would make you feel if you were bombarded with those messages. You would almost certainly, if you sent more than 2 or 3 messages in a week, you'd receive that, you'd almost certainly either disconnect from them or block them perhaps. So just be aware of that, and give people time to digest the content. If you put links in there, if you put, ask them to follow your page or whatever, give them time to look at it. Don't expect, a response within an hour, because not everybody's living on LinkedIn every minute of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. This is from Dan, when you have a pipeline or a list of candidates in LinkedIn Recruiter, is there a way of using Dux-Soup to send them all a template job? So I guess that's, we've got one job, and we want to send it to everyone who's been tagged as a potential for that role. Is there a way of sending all a template for that role?
I'd need to look into that. Was it Dan, you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
I must admit, my experience of Recruiter is probably nothing like you guys. If we can get Dan's email, and we'll follow that up through our support team. I mean, you can send out, for example, in-mails or communications to those people that way. But yeah, we can look in that in more detail. But yeah, I mean, you could do that via in-mail, of course, but depending on the connectivity level of those candidates. But yeah, we'll follow that one up.
You can send me your email address then, Dan, please.
That was the quickest way to ask.
Yeah. Is there an admin tool to govern multiple logins? Do you know that one?
Admin tool. Oh, I assume we're talking about here multiple Dux-Soup accounts. Hopefully that's what they're talking about. Anyway, is there an admin tool to manage multiple logins? So if you've got a team account, a Dux-Soup team account, and we'll just show you how that looks. Let's go back to our pricing page here, and you've got the Dux-Soup team account here. So this is the option for the team account. If you've got a team account, effectively what happens is that the team administrator gets a license key, and then you give that license key to your other users, and everyone then logs on through their Chrome account, whatever that Chrome account may be, and then they need to put that license key into their Dux-Soup options under the user tab. There, you put your license key in here, and then once they put that license key in there, you hit the reload button, and that license key is allocated to them. As the administrator for that particular license or group of licenses, that license key and that number of users, you have a license administrator button here, and I don't have any licenses to manage on this one because I've got that set up on my other one. Bear with me 1 second. If I open that one there, here we go. If I go to my options here, so I'm the license administrator for this one. There we go. So I can see the accounts that have got my 2 licenses here. And then yeah, if for example somebody leaves your organization, you can just bin the license and reallocate it to somebody else. So I think that's what the question was relating to. Also, if you've got a team license, you then have the benefit of being able to create team campaigns. And just to show you how that looks, now this is mine isn't actually a team license because it's set up as an agency license, but that's kind of by the by. What you can do though is once you've got a team license, so if you have a campaign such as this, you can define it as a team campaign. A team campaign then gets made available to your entire team. You also get a signature that you can use. So what you'd find here under your profile is you can define your signature, and then at the end of your campaign you put in _SIG_, oh, SIG, not SIG. There we go. And yeah, you'd have the marker down here. You can see here that the signature would get pulled out then, relating to your particular account. But that's part of the team licensing. One of the things we're not yet there with is the team statistics, but that's something that we're currently working on and hope to be able to provide an update in the not too distant future.
Fabulous, thank you. I'm just replying to someone here. Guidelines.
Multitasking.
Yeah, I'm trying to, and obviously not doing it particularly well. Sorry about that. Sorry, I've lost the thread of the question. I wanted.
While you're doing that a second, they've got some other bits and pieces that I can share. So let's go back to the slides. So as well as Scott coming up in 2 weeks' time, I'm also going to be in North America for a brief trip over there. Where is it? That one there. There we go. So I'm going to be heading over to the US, and I'm going to be in Toronto and San Francisco. So if you want to meet up in either of those locations, then please email our support team on info@dux-soup.com. And yeah, I'd be delighted to meet any of our users over there. No problems at all. Be really interested in meeting people face to face, now that we're allowed to, of course. So that's something there. Another one is that Woodpecker, if any of you are familiar with Woodpecker, it's a email sequence, cold email outreach tool. Basically, they've integrated Dux-Soup with Woodpecker, so we have a really neat integration there where you can use your Dux-Soup campaigns, LinkedIn automation campaigns there with Woodpecker. And next Thursday, so a week on Thursday, I'm going to be joining Woodpecker to present that alongside some of their representatives as well. So that's something else to have a look at. If you go to our web page, I think in the coming hours we'll have the invite link available there. But you can also go to the Woodpecker page there and find the information relating to that particular webinar. Has that given you enough time, Joe?
Yes, it has. Thank you very much. Must Dux run only when you're not using it in terms of invites going out, etc.? Which I think is a really good question because we talk about that a lot, running it in the background.
Yeah, so this is something we've talked about, and we also do lots of testing as well. We always recommend, if Dux-Soup is sending invites out, to not be using LinkedIn for heavy activities at the same time. It can look to LinkedIn, and this is about keeping your account safe. It can look to LinkedIn like there's more than one person on your account, and that's where you make use of the planner. And let's go back to the planner. Here we go. Let's go to my Dux-Soup options. Go to the planner. You can use the planner, for example, to determine when you are happy for Dux-Soup to do stuff and happy for it to be in snooze mode, so that you can do stuff manually. So as you can see here, I have a real mix up during the day here when I'm happy for Dux-Soup to do stuff. And then in the middle of webinars like now, I don't want it to be doing anything because I don't want it popping up and being active, unless I'm demonstrating something specific, of course. Always make use of the planner because that gives you control. Yeah, I would recommend not doing, I mean, you can browse profiles manually at the same time that Dux-Soup's sending messages, but I wouldn't do any messaging and that sort of stuff at the same time. It does seem that this is one of those gray areas where it looks like LinkedIn are doing less and less because they expect people to be active on multiple platforms, whether that's on your desktop computer or your iPad or your mobile phone or regular LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. There does seem to be a little bit more flexibility there, but if you want to be absolutely sure, try and separate your activities.
Good tips, good tips, good tips. Can profiles be enrolled into a campaign via a URL?
Yeah, absolutely. In the same way that I showed you just now with the revisit data button. Hit the revisit data button. As long as you've got, you need 3 columns in your CSV file. The 3 columns being, let's show you. You need 3 columns. One which contains the word profile, one that contains first name and last name. Those 3 columns have to be existing in your CSV file. The profile is the URL of the profile that you're wishing to enroll or invite or visit or whatever it may be. And then first name and last name, they're pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, I mean, you can add other columns in there as well and add custom fields in there, but we've covered that quite extensively in other webinars about custom messaging. And if you want to know more about that, go to our support pages and type in custom messages.
Thank you very much for that one. This is from Imanka. Let's say the response is not positive from a certain connection. Does Dux-Soup automatically unenroll somebody? Or do we have to remove them manually?
If they get a non-positive response.
So I guess, I mean, I think the answer to that is that you have to do it manually. So if there's a response that comes back, is Dux clever enough to automatically remove them from future campaigns, I guess?
If somebody responds to you, then by default, they don't get any further messages unless you take action.
Okay.
whatever their response is. If I just, now I'm in my other account here, so that's probably quite useful.
So they are then removed from future follow-ups.
They
But
won't
they're not
receive anything else in that campaign until you take action. Now, what you can do here under your drip campaigns, let's just take, I'll find some data. There we go. Let's find this one here. So this is a test campaign I run, and yeah, these are some stats. Anybody who's sitting in this responded block here is not going to receive any further campaign messages unless I do something. So if we take, for example, the guy at the top here, there we go, good to be connected. He's not going to receive anything unless I hit reflow. Or I can hit the LinkedIn icon there and go straight to his profile and answer him, or I might just qualify him out, i.e., yeah, make sure he's not in my campaign anymore. That's one way of effectively blacklisting him from a campaign as well. But while they're responded here, they're not receiving anything else unless I hit reflow, in which case that would release the subsequent campaign messages to go out to them.
Okay. If you reach your connection request limit, can you still enroll candidates in a campaign?
Yes, you can queue up enrollments, absolutely. And you only know if you've reached the request limit when the pop-up appears from LinkedIn, and you get a Dux-Soup monitors for that. So you see here, I've got it here in the middle of my page here. The last time I got it was the 10th of February when I was doing some testing. So it happens to everybody. And then basically all that happens is that as soon as some people accept your connection request, that will free up effectively more virtual credits, if you like. Nobody knows what that number is. Nobody knows what the trigger is. But we know certain behaviors that trigger it. For example, sending out hundreds of connection requests and getting a poor response rate means that you will hit those buffers at some point. You can then get Dux-Soup to snooze for 1, 2, however many days you choose, and then it'll try again. If the pop-up appears again, it'll snooze again. If the pop-up doesn't appear, it just continues. And you can queue up those enrollments to be executed, whenever you want. So you can queue up the enrollments at any time you want, because of course you can still follow people, you can still send in mails. Perhaps it's just the connection requests that won't get happened. So that was bad, that was awful English, that won't get happened. The connection requests won't happen until Dux-Soup can successfully send a connection request, and Dux-Soup will continue to go back and try for you, following the rules that you've got set here as well.
Okay. This is from Ben. Is there a possibility where a visit updates the CRM with fresh data like new company, new title, etc.? So can a visit automatically then update the CRM?
Okay, there's an awful lot. Depends on a whole heap of factors, depending on what integration you're using, depends on how you've defined your integration. If you're using a Zapier integration, it depends on the rules that you've set up there. If you're using one of the Dux-Soup integrations with HubSpot, Pipedrive, and SharpSpring, it depends upon how you've defined that, whether you've got this enabled or not. So at the moment, I've got mine set up to create and update people from connected profiles. So if I visit a profile of somebody I'm connected to, it's going to update their details based upon the latest information that's in LinkedIn.
Okay. So a longer answer there, Ben. I think you need a bit more.
That could have been a real rabbit hole, but we'll keep it at that.
Another one, can you set the planner to a different time zone to your own, or is it tied to your PC time zone? That's a good question.
It's tied to your local PC or server time zone.
Okay.
So a lot of people, for example, run Dux-Soup on a VPS on a server. So wherever wherever the device is that you are working in is located, actually or virtually, is effectively the time zone that Dux-Soup will. It's the device time that Dux-Soup will follow. And yeah, I'm afraid you'll just have to work out the time difference for the zone you're working in.
Okay. Is there a team function where we can collaborate on campaigns?
Yeah, I've covered that one already. Yeah, just use the define your campaign as a team campaign here. It becomes visible to everybody, and then use your custom signature at the bottom of each of your messages. And then yeah, sometime in the future we will then see team stats being made available. At the moment the team stats aren't there, but yeah, the important thing is that the content of the campaigns becomes visible to all, and it prevents you from enrolling the same people across your team into the same campaign.
Okay.
So that's one of the benefits of that as well. It stops that duplication of effort.
And I'm just having a look. We do have a few other questions there, but I think, to be honest, we've covered most of them with the content and other people's questions. So I think, if I'm honest, I'm going to probably call it a day today. But if there's anything else that people don't think have been answered, then I think if you send an email to info@dux-soup.com, then we will happily get back to you.
Yep, and I'll leave that slide up for you.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what we said at the beginning, Eve would love to get hold of some of your video reviews. So hopefully you're a Dux-Soup user, and you can win one of these lovely caps. Giles has got both the colours, I've just got the blue one. But yeah, if you send us your video reviews of you using Dux-Soup and what you like about it and how you use it, how it benefits your business, then that would be fantastic. And you can send that to eve@dux-soup.com, and we'll be in touch with you to get a hold of your contact details and send you a cap. Giles goes on tour, he's covered that one already, and I think that's kind of it really. Yeah, your booster and tech calls. Obviously,
yep. If people need extra help, need support, and or extra support, because our support team, of course, cover nearly everything via the chat functionality. And but if you need something over and above that, if you need consultation or whatever extra help, then you can book those via the website through the support pages. And that's everything from me.
I think that's everything from me as well. So all that's left to say is thank you for everyone who attended and sending us your questions, and thank you, Giles, for another good session. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.